All right, 6:30 kickoff tomorrow on the SEC Network. Also, of course, right here on this very station you're listening to on ESPN Arkansas. It's the Razorbacks and the LSU Tigers in the battle for the boot. And let's talk about this game with Mike Detillier. He is sports talk on WWL Radio. He is a college football expert. Also has written many draft write-ups and a draft book that he's published many times. Mike, we appreciate your time today. What's going on in New Orleans today?
I'm fine. Weather's beautiful, and we're fixing to catch our first good blast of cold there pretty soon. So, man, it's a change from battling the hurricanes. That's all I can tell you.
That's for sure. You're right. I'd rather deal with cold than the hurricanes any day of the week.
Yeah.
So first things first, and I did get a pretty general question to start here because you scout the opponent quite often. What do you think of this Razorback team? Because they've obviously taken a step forward from last year. They had taken a step forward last year as well. And right now this football team is playing pretty well.
Yeah, listen, it's the first steps of what Coach Pittman is going to build there. Their first units are really good, really, really good. They can play with anyone. The problem becomes you got to build good depth because, it's a long SEC season. You get sort of beat up. You lose people to injuries, and that's where you get a drop-off. And I'll never forget one of the few things that Les Miles made a lot of sense of when he talked to me about was the big difference in why Alabama is who they are and where the other teams aren't is when they lose a player, they got somebody every bit as good ready to replace him. And he said, you can't say that about a lot of teams in college football in the SEC for sure. And I think that's what's happening at Arkansas. Their first team units are really good. Got some big play weapons there that can put points on the board quickly in the passing game. I'd love to, see them with a big back, a big running back, because I think that's where – smaller backs, they've got their way in the SEC, but, man, a big back that can carry the lumber, and you hit a change of pace guy in there really works. And defensively, front seven are real hard, but what's even harder to get today, and I've talked about this to Coach Orgeron in the past, that, cornerbacks, you lose a guy there, they're difficult to replace. So, man, what I see with Coach Pittman, he's done a really good job. His first team units are really good. Where you see a little bit of a drop-off is when, he's got to go to his second team units where he hasn't had enough time to build up that depth and that talent depth that you would really like. But he's the right coach for the right situation. I was on a search committee, and his name got brought up. And, one of the prominent people there sort of said, hey, he's not right for us. He's not right for us. He didn't fit that Lincoln Riley look as a head coach, but, man, the guy can coach. He's tough. He relates well to his players, and he's the perfect fit for Arkansas. You got the right guy.
It's interesting you put the name Lincoln Riley out there because there's all these rumors that LSU may go after him or a couple other big-name coaches too. But I want to address depth on the LSU side here because there's this – I feel like it's a consensus that LSU is one of those programs that maybe doesn't reload at the same rate that Alabama does, but they have really good talent on the second string on both sides of the ball. But they've had to, man, it feels like LSU's depth has been tested like no other team in the SEC this year, and it just, you keep seeing guys fall off and injuries continue to happen. I mean, they'll be without two starting offensive linemen amongst all the other defensive injuries they've been dealing with. So what's that been like this year for this LSU team?
It's been like a MASH unit. Now I got a good friend of mine who was coaching on defense for the Tigers, and that next man up theory. Next man ain't as good, but he better be ready to play because they have lost 8 starters on the defensive side of the football, and now you got 2 starting offensive guards you're missing. Keyshawn Boutte got lost a few weeks back for the season. John Emery, who you thought maybe would be your number one back, academically ineligible. So, man, this team has really caught it. I've covered LSU football for over 35 years. Never seen anything like this, injury-wise. It's not an excuse, but it's a reality for Coach Orgeron that, even when he was healthy, you wondered how this team would be. But to go toe-to-toe with Alabama and not have those people goes to show you LSU does have some pretty good depth, because they went toe-to-toe with Bama. Especially, you look at how well they played on defense. Their offense was 2 words, lousy, but defensively, they got it done. And that was really impressive. Maybe the most impressive thing I've seen all season long for LSU was how well that team played defensively without 8 starters.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive to see them go to toe-to-toe with Bama last week. And, Mike, before we get back to football, this question has been burning in my head all week. And I get this question in my head about every year when the topic of LSU comes up. And you just talked about how you've covered the LSU football for 35 years. So if there is any more to this, you'd be the person to ask. And I always wonder, is there a deeper backstory meaning to Crown Royal being linked to LSU, or is it just simply the purple bags that it comes in? Is there an actual backstory behind it, or just everybody in Louisiana likes it?
Yeah, everybody in Louisiana likes it. Man, listen, if I've done pretty good in the investment world, but I wish I'd invested in a little store close to Tiger Stadium that sold alcohol and beer. Because, man, I'd have to buy me a new house just to keep all my money in. One of the funniest stories, A.J. McCarron comes down to the Manning camp, which is about 10 minutes from where I live in Thibodaux. And I asked him what his first impressions were to go to Tiger Stadium. And he said, my first impression was, I ain't never smelled more liquor in my life than when I walked off that team bus, which was a great line. And it's actually a truthful one. So no connection, but man, alcohol and beer. One thing with Tiger fans, unless it's an 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock game, they know how to whoop-de-do it pretty good. They got a lot of antifreeze in the radiator.
Yeah, they do. They seem to be able to do it pretty well. So we know the whole thing around Coach O and that he's going to step down at the end of the season. And it seems like there's going to be a blockbuster type of hire, right? Because for one, it's LSU, and LSU is one of those schools that ultimately always should get a blockbuster hire. Who is your guy that you would kind of want to replace Ed O, and what's next for Coach Ed Orgeron?
Okay, I'll answer the second question first. Ed and I grew up together. I went to Central Lafourche High School. He went to South. We got the Intercoastal Canal separate us, so we've known each other for, he wouldn't want to say it, but I guess I can. It's close to 50 years we've known one another. And I think Ed's going to be a television guy. I really don't think Ed will ever coach again. I think he'll go into TV, and I think he'll do good there. Just let him tell stories, man. He got a ton of them, believe me. Him and I and Bobby Hebert, we all grew up very, very close to one another. So, but Ed got stories, and I think he'll either end up on Fox with 2 guys he helped recruit to USC, and Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, or he'll be on the SEC network. He'll be one of the 2. They let him tell stories. He's gold. He can do that. If it were me, my first choice would be Lincoln Riley, offensive-minded coach. A guy that you've seen his success. Louisiana in the last 6 years has produced 76 Division I receivers.
Wow.
It's a state loaded at wide receiver. In 2023 recruiting class, you're going to have 6 Division I quarterbacks led by Arch Manning. So, there's a lot of talent per capita in Louisiana that goes to the NFL. It's one of the top 3, 4 out of the last 5 years. Lincoln knows how to use that talent. Smart, young coach. I always thought his next stop would be the NFL. But, one thing, I got a guy that don't live that far from me. he just cut a check for $27 million to LSU to build that new athletic department to help pay a coach $11 million a year. I'm sure he would cut that check too. So if it were just me, and I don't know the whole situation with Lincoln, if he wants to leave Oklahoma, he may be happy there. I don't know. But it would be Lincoln Riley because of his success there, his ability to groom quarterbacks in the pitch and catch part of the game, which is prominent. Everybody says, well, you got to get a great defensive coordinator. Well, if you get one, you ain't keeping him long. You're going to be a head coach real quick, if you a defensive coordinator at LSU. So it would be Riley. And I think with Scott Woodward, his reputation has always been, and he told me this, I want that guy to tell me no. If he tells me no, I go to my second choice. We all know about his connections to Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo's been the ultimate football runaway bride for LSU twice. There was some pursuit, and it got away. Does he leave A&M where, they can pay him every bit the nickel that LSU can? He's on the verge of the number one recruiting class in the country. He's done a great job there. Does he leave there? I don't know. And the other guy would be Mel Tucker. And I heard it in the weekend that Coach O got the pink slip, that the people at LSU really pushing hard for Mel Tucker. He's a former Saban assistant. He had coached at LSU before. He's coached at Georgia, Alabama. He knows the landscape. He has bounced around now quite a bit. 1 year at Colorado, 2 at Michigan State. But if you're looking for a guy that may be the next big thing, so to speak, coaching-wise, it may be Mel Tucker. So I really believe it'll be one of those three guys. And I think Scott wants Lincoln and certainly Jimbo to tell him no, not interested. Then he'll move on.
Interesting. Hey, Mike, we'll leave it there. We're up against the break. Appreciate you hopping on with us, and safe travels to Baton Rouge for tomorrow's game, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, guys, y'all take care. Listen, throw the football because that's where y'all got the big advantage in the catch part of the game against those LSU DBs.
We're back and better than ever. A new web interface to start the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, and baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.